The sound you hear is what some experts claim to be a Bigfoot scream. Recorded in the state of Washington by a group of campers in 1971, it is regarded as the highest quality audio of the creature ever captured.
Hello, welcome to Bigfoot Real Encounters. We're glad to have you stop by. We'd also like to take this time to invite you to share your encounter. You can send your stories to the email bfrealencounters@mail.com, where we will feature your story with all of the respect that it deserves. So send your stories in, bfrealencounters@mail.com. We look forward to hearing from you and your great stories soon. Hello and welcome back to Bigfoot Real Encounters. This is your host, Chris. Also like to welcome any new viewers to this channel. This is a safe place to share your Bigfoot encounters. You will not be ridiculed. You will be believed. Many of you have had encounters with the Sasquatch people, and many of you have been ridiculed, laughed at, told that you were crazy or making it up, or many other things. We have witnessed people in the news media make light of, make fun of, and laugh and snarky remarks about any type of Bigfoot story and UFO stories, as well as others over many years. So the subject has not been taken seriously until recently. There seems to have been a break in this subject, and many people are coming forward with their stories and sharing for the very first time. And it's about time, because those that I guess they would be the powers that be, they like to be called that. People in charge, they like to be called that also. They want to control the narrative. They like to determine what we are allowed to know and not allowed to know. And for many years, they have determined to keep this subject a big secret from all of us for some reason. Well, we have decided and determined that we are going to educate each other about it. There is the possibility of dangers, so we will do the job ourselves. We will tell each other the details, and that's what this channel is all about. Right now, I'm still waiting for people to send in their encounters. I understand, I'm new. You're going to sit back and watch and listen just to see how you like me. That's fine. But I do encourage you to send in your encounters. It's never been a more acceptable and safer time to do so. I will read your encounter faithfully, verbatim, other than the cuss words in it, if you put any in. And I'll not leave out any details like some websites are reported to do. We'll get across all the details, all the information, so that we can get the best understanding of these beings as possible, so that we know what to do when we come across them. So let's continue in the Northeast. We're going to take a look at New York. A lot of people say, Bigfoot in New York? Well, actually, yeah, New York is a rather large state, and a big portion of New York is very beautiful countryside. I was amazed the first time I visited upstate New York, around the Finger Lakes region. There are 5 lakes. They're kind of finger-shaped if you look at them on a map from way up in the air. But anyways, that New York area is really nice. A lot of wooded areas. Part of it is like the Adirondack. Most of us have just the idea of New York City. And of course, most of New York is not that way. Most of New York's population is in that part of New York. But most of the state is actually rather nice. So let's take a look at New York. And Let me see here. The very first thing that we have, 1992 in October. Warren County, New York. It's a short encounter here that we're doing. It says, it was about 6 a.m. on my way to work when something came from the right side of the road out of the woods and forced me to stop or run into it. It is dark that time of morning, so it took a few seconds to get my thoughts together. When I did, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was somewhere between 7 and 8 feet tall, at least, with white or light gray hair from head to toe. It was standing 10 to 12 feet in front of my car, directly in the headlights, so I had a perfect view. The creature was standing facing the left side of the road with a slight left twist to its body in my direction. We stared at each other for what seemed to be minutes, but I can't say for sure how long it actually was. I had absolutely no fear of this creature. It seemed to have a sad demeanor. This creature made no sound at all, like the screams I've heard about. I do not have any reason to believe it was a male or female. Needless to say, I have carried my camera ever since, but I believe that it was a once-in-a-lifetime incident. I was alone in my car. I started to tell my mom and sister at work when I arrived, but said it was a bear because I knew they would think I was crazy. Many months later, I told my family, and sure enough, they called me crazy. See, that was a very short description of what happened, but it does give us a different look at the different types of encounters that can happen and what actually happened. This man described a sad demeanor of the Sasquatch, and that's why I went ahead and read this one, because even though it was short, it was described as having a sad demeanor. This just gives us an additional aspect to the beings. This one had a sad demeanor. Other ones have a hateful demeanor or scary. This wasn't that way. So we are dealing with actual physical beings because of the fact that they do act differently apart and separate from each other. I thought that would be interesting. So, before we go on to any other stories, I do want to encourage you to like, subscribe, share these stories around to other people. Encourage people who you know have had encounters to send in their stories to bfrealencounters@mail.com. And if you've had one, send yours in too. I know you're out there sitting on some of them. Send them in. And on another note, I'm looking into the possibility of doing the interview type of thing. I've had somebody ask me about doing an interview with some of their encounters, and I'm not sure if I'm able to do it. I basically have a microphone plugged into my PC, and this is how I do things. I don't know if I'd be able to do anything over the telephone or not, how well it would turn out, but I'm looking into it. Maybe you might consider doing something like that also, rather than responding to an email. I mean, you could even record yourself telling your story on your phone and send me the link. I mean, we could do it that way too. I mean, I'm open to expanding my channel and doing things differently so that we could get the evidence out there to share our stories to other people. And if you think that it would do your encounter the justice that it needs to have it in your own words and your own description, well then by all means send it in. I'll put that up there too. So anyways, let's look around and see if we can have another story from New York. And I guess I found another media article. I kind of like these. This is from January 29th, 2004, from Capital News 9. written by Chris Hamilton. It's entitled Man Calls for Law to Protect Bigfoot. It reads, Whitehall is known as the birthplace of the U.S. Navy, but if one man gets his way, it may soon add protector of Bigfoot to its resume. Paul Bartholomew, a local researcher, said, quote, I proposed a protective ordinance for these creatures in the Whitehall area which would protect these creatures under the law, and it would also recognize these creatures, end quote. Bartholomew has asked the Whitehall Town Board to pass a resolution that would make it illegal to shoot Bigfoot. He said the idea is mostly symbolic, adding it would be a step toward bringing notoriety and tourists to the area, much like the lake monster Champ does for Lake Champlain. Bartholomew said the proposal is similar to one Port Henry officials passed to protect their favorite monster. In 1976, there reportedly was a Bigfoot sighting in Whitehall on a Bear Road, and some said there were other nearby sightings in northern New York and across the border in Vermont. Bartholomew said, what was sighted out there was a large creature 7 to 8 feet tall, walking like a gorilla, hunched over, making a sound like a woman screaming. While it was a landmark case, it was just one that forms a chain of sightings, which goes back to the Algonquin and Iroquois. Ultimately, Bartholomew hopes to bring a museum to Whitehall to mark all the sightings in the area. Bartholomew said, quote, we should have a museum exhibit based on this phenomenon, and I think it would draw tourists as well, and maybe even a festival, end quote. The Whitehall Town Board will review the resolution at its next meeting on February 5. And I don't have an update for you on there. Maybe I'll look it up and I'll find out whatever happened with that. That might be interesting for us. Anyways, there's a media article and someone trying to legitimize the subject of Bigfoot. All right, let's look around here. We have another one from 1989 in Washington County, New York. And let me see. Okay, this is near Whitehall. Again, I guess. Yeah, Whitehall, New York, on friend's property, near the Vermont state line. It reads, we saw footprints while walking in the woods that must have been 20 inches long, and found some tree branches broken down. They were originally about 15 feet high. We decided to head back to his house right away because we both felt as if we were being watched, and it was close to dark. The entire way home we felt as if we were being followed. Then the next morning I awoke to see a large creature about 20 feet from the house. I slept on the fold-out couch, and the entire front of the house has windows. It must have been at least 10 feet tall, as the windows are 15 feet off the ground, and it was no more than 5 feet below me. It wandered around for a while, and I did not dare move. It was brown and looked very human except for its size and forehead, and obviously the hair. After about 5 minutes, it walked toward the house and up a bank. As it passed the house, it banged on the wall, and I thought its arm would come right through. My friend was wakened by this and came in, and I told him what I had seen. We decided not to go back out to follow the tracks. Yeah, me either. I wouldn't want to follow that thing. Oh my goodness. Just hanging around, looking around, and decides to smack the side of the house as it walks off. Wow, that's really interesting. Almost kind of scary. Let's see if we have some time and if we can find another story here. Here we have one in Essex County, New York, from 1989, 1993, it says. Oh, it looks like there's more than one encounter. Okay. Excuse Excuse me. First encounter. Walking with two friends looking for one of the friends' brother. Walking down abandoned Lake Champlain and Maria Railroad trackbed. It was approximately 1:30 a.m., 1989 in June. Heard a god-awful screaming noise coming from over the bank on the south side of the old rail bed. Metal was being ripped and thrown. Over the bank there was a series of junked-out cars. Some Subarus and an early 60s Chevy station wagon. One of my friends uttered the obligatory, "What was that?" And the noises stopped, almost like it hurt us. The next thing we heard was the sound of something very large breaking through the heavy brush of the woods below us. Before we knew it, it was up the bank and standing in front of us. In the dark, I couldn't see it, but I could tell that it was huge. There was a smell as well, almost like crossing a dead skunk in a deep bog. Nasty. My buddies took off, leaving me, because I was slow to react. I mean, I was scared, but sort of curious too. The thing, whatever it was right in front of me. I could feel its breath, hear it breathing. I was only there for a second or two and then started running. The thing took off after us. I could hear its feet on the gravel behind me. It stopped chasing us just as we broke out onto the road and headed up the main street. I chanced to look back and I could see its shadow just inside the brush. Whatever it was big. A lot bigger than a man, and I have never seen a bear move like that. The bank it climbed was at over a 45-degree angle, loose gravel and stone and covered with vines and heavy brush. We tried to climb it the next weekend, and it took the best of us over 5 minutes to climb it. At that time, we never bothered to look for tracks. But one interesting note, I stated above that there were junked cars on the south side of the rail bed. One of these being an early 60s station wagon, a big, heavy car. My friends and I had been in that area the week or so before, and the car had been on its wheels. The weekend after the occurrence, the car was on its roof. Pieces ripped from it and scattered around. That really scared me, and I have not been back since. The second encounter I had, that was just as strange as the first. Me and a buddy of mine were cruising in his 85 LTD station wagon, the ultimate touring vessel as it were, just out enjoying the late September weather. It was a beautiful September night, September 23rd, 1993. We drove up this four-wheel drive trail to the point where everyone parties. Every hick town has one of those. And the trail heads for Westport, New York. He wheeled the car around and parked with the rear facing the woods, the nose facing down the road we had just came in on. We were just talking about the town, friends, plans, just stuff. I happened to look out the back window and I could see something coming up behind the car. The LTD wagon had huge taillights and there was no guard over the license plate light. So the back of the car lit the area up nicely. This thing was big, black, and had its arm out like it was going to open the door on the driver's side. The part that scared me the most was the fact that the rear hatch of the wagon did not latch. It just kind of moved around, thumped when you hit a bump. That sort of thing. It was one of those things Matt was going to fix but never did. Anyway, I looked at Matt and asked, "Did you lock the doors?" Calmly, almost deadpan. "Why?" "Something's about to open the door." Matt slammed the gear shift into drive and we took off out of there. I looked back and the thing stood up. It had to be over 7 feet tall. It was huge. and black. Its eyes must have caught the taillights glow because there was a red flicker in them. We never stopped until we got down to Port Henry, 6 or 7 miles away. I live in a rural part of New York, just outside the blue line of the Adirondack Park. I know what bears look like. I know how they behave. Each one of these encounters was no bear. I still don't know what to call each of them. It seems to fit the Sasquatch theory, but why in the middle of nowhere? Where I live, they already have a tourist hook, the Lake Champlain monster. Each year, people with out-of-state plates flood the little town looking for the elusive critter. It's been almost 10 years since my first encounter, and a scant 5 since my last, and I still have no idea what exactly chased me out of the woods we played in. Wow. Now those almost to the point of scary until they peeled on out of there. He says something's about to open the door and they took off. I guess I would too. That's really something else. So New York has quite the history in Bigfoot encounters. It goes way back, especially the Whitehall area. I remember seeing some TV shows about the Whitehall monster, they called it. I believe there was a police officer saw that one and gave chase and all that. And the name sounded familiar. But this was in a different area. I'm pretty sure he knows what it is. And once again, as I'm reading these encounters reported on these BFRO incident reports, if I'm reading yours and you recognize this as yours, I encourage you to contact me. bfrealencounters@mail.com. That link is in the description below, and it's also presented a couple times throughout the video. Yeah, tell me about it. Maybe you have more information. Maybe you've had additional encounters. Because one thing we've noticed is that these things happen to people more than once. Maybe the creatures keep tabs on us. I don't know. It's possible. But anyway, what a story, huh, folks? On another note, I would like to reach out to any Native Americans with any knowledge on the Sasquatch, Bigfoot. If your people have any knowledge that they would be willing to put out publicly for people to learn from, we would really appreciate if you could send anything in or let us know anything that you have that you'd be willing to share. I would really encourage it. Be safe outside as you enjoy your summer, hiking, camping, picnicking, fishing. Until the next video, be safe. Have a good day. Once again, another great story. Thanks for tuning in. Please share your encounter. Email us, bfrealencounters@mail.com. Your story is very important. We will treat it with the respect that it deserves. Also, be sure to smash the like button, share, and subscribe. Thanks once again. We look forward to hearing from you soon. Watch out for our next video. Maybe we'll feature yours. Have a great day.